Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters with Nick and Elizabeth on the Podfix Network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours. If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
Well, guess what? I have a big surprise for you.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And I think it's best to just say we're back.
Yay!
We have not launched an episode in like over a month.
Well, summer is really busy.
Yeah. And, you know, I got through, what did we do? 95 straight episodes without missing a single week.
Yes.
Sometimes and you'll notice, I've started launching some on Saturday because I would forget to edit them on Friday or I get too busy. I'd be up till like 3 a.m. doing these podcasts, editing them, and then throwing them up on Saturday. So sometimes we were up on Saturday. And then once July 6th came, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I am so overwhelmed.
Yeah, hey, it's busy. And for those of you listening, Nick does the majority of the work, like 95%. I show up and read the questions.
I love that she admits that in every podcast.
Well, I just want people to give the credit where credit is due, man. You do a lot of research and you do a lot of work for this podcast.
So, as you know, I'm very big into the dance world in May and June when I'm making the bulk majority of my business. And man, I got to tell you, once July 1st came around, I was so swamped. And vacation was staring me down. We went on 2 vacations in July. I knew I had to be done for those. One of them I was, one I wasn't. And then to complicate things even more, you don't have to say anything about the T-shirt I'm wearing, but look at what T-shirt I'm wearing. This is now where I work. So, yes, I took a job at my kid's school, and then they're like, can you start July 1st? I'm like, yes. Wait, what? What did I say? Did I just agree to come in on July 1st?
I thought we weren't going to do that.
Well, I did.
Okay. Maybe that's a discussion for off air.
Maybe it is, but it's going well. And I'm glad to be, I'll be able to be around my kids at school, which I'm kind of excited about. So. Yeah,
your kids will be excited now. Just wait till they're like 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Then it's not so cool.
The dad works at school.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
So I have that going on, and I got done with all my shows. We went on a vacation to Door County, Wisconsin, which is like famous for the wineries, and just there's no cell reception up there, people. Nothing. No internet, no cell. People are calling me. I'm like, I couldn't deal with the fact that I couldn't communicate with the outside world up there. And I did get shows worked on at night. Like when people would go to bed, I would stay up and just work on my shows. So finally.
And how long were you there?
We were there from Friday night until Thursday afternoon.
Oh, so a whole week without cell.
Right.
Really good cell. Okay.
Oh, right, yeah. That's why there's been no communication between Elizabeth and I in the last 4 weeks.
Yes.
I don't think we've talked to each other.
We haven't.
All but once or something. Yeah. So we're going to give you this kind of update. We're just going to go right into it and kind of tell you some of the things that have been going on. The first thing I wanted to talk about with you was being part of this show and the fact that we interview celebrities. We've gotten a chance to do backstage things that we normally wouldn't have been able to do because we're no longer affiliated with our radio station that we used to work for.
That's right.
But some places have been very kind to let us come to their festival. And one of them is Country USA in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. They invited us up there. But I have to say, it was an experience to forget.
Oh, no.
I mean, I'm very, very thankful that they gave us the complimentary admission into the festival. The day we got up there, it rained to the point where when we pulled into the parking lot, 5 minutes later, they closed the gates and kicked everybody out of the park. So luckily, we were already in the parking lot. We didn't have to wait in that huge, gigantic line to get in. But we were stuck in our car for a great majority of the time. And the other thing that I have to say is instead of just canceling the acts that they missed while we were waiting for the rain to clear, they actually pushed everything back.
So you're listening to concerts in the middle of the night?
Pretty much, because here's the deal. The reason I wanted to go to this festival so bad is because the last time I had a chance to see Alabama in 1999, it was their farewell tour. It was an outside show, and it got rained out.
Oh.
So I thought, I'm going to go up and I'm going to see Alabama. And it's going to be my first time, and it's going to be super awesome. And guess what?
It got rained out.
No, but they were going to perform at 10 o'clock.
Oh!
Originally, they were on schedule for the 10 o'clock act.
Which is way past
They were
bedtime.
pushed back till 11:30. They weren't going to start till 11:30 at night. Now, I don't live near Oshkosh. That's 2 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I'm not going to get home till 3 or 4 in the morning. Is this concert really worth it?
Was it?
I didn't go. I left.
Oh, bummer.
But Neil McCoy was up there. We've talked about Neil McCoy a lot
We do love
on this
Neil
show.
McCoy.
Well, we used to love Neil McCoy.
Yeah.
Neil McCoy's changed a lot. And Les Martinez did finally email me back. Now, Les is Neil's manager.
Yep.
And we've reached out to Les a
Couple
lot
of
to
times.
try and get Neil on the show,
Mm-hmm.
which he doesn't want to do, apparently, which is fine.
Okay.
And Les couldn't even put me on a meet and greet list, which I kind of didn't get because he's like, oh, my list is full, but if you're working with the festival and they can put you on their list, then, I'm fine with that. Tell them I'm fine with it. And I'm like, you're the road manager. Can't you add 2 more people to your list? I don't understand what's going on. So that didn't happen. Didn't meet Neil McCoy, but I did see his show. His favorite word in his performance at would you consider country music festivals to be a family-friendly event?
I would.
They're not.
Oh, was it naughty words?
His favorite word was the S word.
Oh, shucks.
Everything was S this, S that. Blah, blah, blah. I couldn't believe it. Now, he does have still like really good values as far as honoring our country and things like that. He wrote a song called Taking it was called Taking a Knee my butt.
Mm-hmm.
Take a knee my butt. And he did sing that. And he just was very potty-mouthed.
Oh, shucks.
It was disappointing.
That is disappointing.
He's no longer a family act, in my opinion. And it's like, I don't know, at some point, do you just feel very free to be, like, maybe that's who he always was? Like, if you have a potty mouth and you've held it in for so many years and now you're not on the radio anymore, so you don't have that persona to really put out there anymore, that that's who you are
Was
now.
he late at night?
No, he was like, he was supposed to be like at 3 o'clock and he got pushed back to like 5 or 5:30.
But even then, that's family time. That's not those are kids. So,
Agreed. He
yeah.
wasn't like the closing show that
Yeah.
kids would be in bed. I mean, there's tons of kids there, and I was glad mine were not.
Yeah.
So I do have to say that Country USA handled the rain delay the best that they could. This is a funny story I have to tell you. The security, they have the VIP area, okay, right up in the front of the stage that they sell for premium value.
Okay.
And then behind that, to keep people out, there's a fence, right?
Okay.
And then there's like there's like a trough of gravel where like the cops will stand.
Okay.
And then another fence. Okay.
So the cops are between two fences?
Yes.
Okay.
Like if something happens, what are you going to do about it? Like you got to jump an not 8 foot, but probably
But
a
a snow
6.5
fence, right?
foot fence. It was, this is more heavy duty. This actually had metal bars and stuff.
Oh.
Where it was bolted into the ground.
Oh,
which
heavens.
Which is what I found really funny because they're like at the middle of Neil's act, they're like, after this act, you can't stand here anymore. I'm like, you can't stand? He goes, well, we're afraid the fence is going to come down. So I took a picture of both sides. Like this huge thing is like, must be many feet into the ground. You couldn't shake it if you tried. Even if you pushed 100 people on it, it wasn't going to come down. So
Very interesting.
We abided. I'm a rule follower.
Yes,
If I'm
you are.
told to get out of the way, I get out of the way. And next act was Trace Adkins. Everybody's back there. They're all standing there. I'm
I
like,
like
you
Trace.
jerk. Oh, I know. Trace Adkins.
Yeah.
He was awesome. But just the fact that they didn't kick everybody out. They let everybody back in. And then I lost my good spot.
Yeah. What a bummer.
And it was so muddy. Oh, those country music festivals that are held in farm fields with no irrigation or drainage or anything. Oh, it was so muddy. And I thought, why did I wear my brand new sandals? This was really
shucks.
stupid.
You should have been wearing your rain boots.
Rain galoshes or something that I don't own. Yeah, so the security area between the two, that was the most secure place in the building because you couldn't get in or out of that.
Nice.
And so we did have a media pass, but, it was only an entrance into the festival. There was no media tent. And that's what I don't understand. If you're going to grant a media pass, there should have been a media tent where they could have had a mini press conference with the artists and that kind of thing.
Right.
And that's what you'd think when
We
you
used to do
approve for
that.
media. I know they
Yeah.
used to do that. none of them do it anymore. Even
Weird.
Country Thunder, who treated us like royalty last year, I must have not applied to go back because I never heard from them this year, so I didn't go there this year. But they treat the media like royalty, and they at least help you get the interviews with the artists.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's what I wanted to tell you about that. So that was my Country USA experience.
Huh.
But what happened, what came out of that show, though, is our guest for next week.
Oh, fantastic.
We are interviewing one of them is a good friend of mine. He plays guitar for Alabama on tour, and his friend, so it's Jason and Chemo will be on the show. They tour with Alabama. They're known as Fred and Barney on tour.
Oh.
Because Jason is short and stout like Barney.
Okay.
And the other guy is tall and has the black hair like Fred. And so they actually have a Facebook page called Fred and Barney.
Fun.
That you can see them ahead of time. But they'll be on the show next week telling all of their Alabama tour stories. Chemo actually spent 10 years touring with John Michael Montgomery.
Oh.
So he had some fun things to say about that.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil it, but that's next week's show when we actually have another guest come back. So we took a couple vacations. We talked about that. You always do a road trip in July.
We do.
So tell me a little bit about, bring me up to speed, because, this is our first time talking. We didn't talk off air about any of this.
We intentionally didn't talk about this. So normally we take the entire month of July and go somewhere. Our goal is to do all of the national parks.
Last year you did Florida.
We did.
Mm-hmm.
We did 4 or 5 national parks along the way. And this year we originally were going to do Niagara Falls, a couple of parks in the United States, go all the way out to Maine, down to Boston, and back home. But my husband, Mark, has been granted a different position at his work and wasn't able to take the entire month off. So we settled for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so our goal this time was going to be to go to Niagara Falls and then do a little bit in Wisconsin and in Michigan.
Had you seen Niagara Falls before?
I had not.
Oh, really?
So we first start out in Ohio at, and I'm going to get it wrong, Cuyahoga Valley National
you got it right.
Park. Oh, good. And so we did that park, which is kind of funny. It's in the middle of Cleveland, and nobody seems to realize it's there. So we spent a day kind of touring that, and then they have a railroad, and we went and rode the railroad the next day. It was okay. We could have probably skipped the railroad. I was hoping that it was going to actually show me parts of the park that I didn't really get to see, but it didn't. So
you were in Cleveland?
We were, we ate I feel like we ate dinner in Cleveland or some little small suburb about it.
You didn't go to the cemetery in Cleveland Heights, did you?
We did not.
Because that's where James Garfield is lying in state still to this day.
No.
Yeah, you can go see his casket and everything.
No,
it's very
thank you.
creepy. But anyway, okay, go ahead.
So after that, we
awesome.
are heading to Canada, and we are going to be at the 4th of July. We are going to spend at Niagara Falls. Now, every night at 10 o'clock, Niagara Falls does a beautiful fireworks display. And I love fireworks. My anniversary is on July 1st because I wanted there to always be fireworks on my anniversary. So we are super excited. We are driving on Wednesday before the Thursday, 4th of July. We drive through Pennsylvania. We drive through the state of New York. We get to the Peace Bridge, and we're going to take our RV into Canada.
Did they not let you in?
Well, they let me in. They weren't happy to see me.
Why?
So we get there, and they ask the basic questions of, do you have any do you have any tobacco or alcohol? Well, Mark chews, and I got a fridge full of wine and Mike's Hard Lemonade. So I go, no.
Come on, they're going to come aboard, right?
I think they meant more for selling. Did you bring cartons of cigarettes and, cases of beer because it's cheaper? Okay.
Couldn't you have just explained, well, my husband does chew. He's got a tin in his back pocket.
No, because that was the least of my problems.
Oh, my God.
The next question is, do you have a firearm? And my husband, Mark, immediately goes, no, but then instead of shutting his mouth, he looks over to the passenger seat, of which I am not sitting in, and looks to our 13-year-old. And the police officer goes, your 13-year-old has a gun? And my husband goes, no. And then I stick my head in the window and he says to me, do you have a firearm? Because many Americans who are in RVs do carry a firearm.
They're not stupid.
Okay.
Maybe Mark was, but.
Right. I have a firearm. I have a concealed carry. We sometimes sleep in Walmarts or truck stops or, things like that. And my entire world is in a 32-foot tin can. So, yes, I do have a firearm. And so I voluntarily surrender the firearm, which isn't going to be a big deal to what he starts out by saying isn't going to be a big deal. So we are told to pull forward. We need to all have our passports. The dog and ourselves all must disembark the vehicle. And five federal agents board my RV.
This seems like it's way more trouble than it's going to be worth.
Oh, it gets even more fun. So I tell them where the key is. I tell them where the gun is. It is not loaded, but the magazine clip is loaded. And Lillian, our 10-year-old, has very bad anxiety. She is completely convinced that her mother is going to jail at this point. And so now has gone into a full-on panic attack. And I need to send an officer back into the RV to find her stuffed moose, which is her, security blanket. So some man comes in and finds the moose and brings the moose out to Lily. As we sit there, they fill out some paperwork and then hand me, I'm assuming, what is a receipt.
Okay.
And they tell me...
Wait, are you going to get the gun back when you come back into the country?
Well, that's just it. Our original intention was not to leave the country through that door. We were going to go a little bit across country and then out their side door over into Michigan. But because you are holding my firearm, I must now leave the exact same entry point for which I came in. So this has started our trip to Canada. Now, we're smarter than this, but we're really not. We have U.S. Cellular, which literally stopped service at the border.
Wonderful.
So now we have no GPS. We have no cell service. We have nothing other than a sign that says Niagara Falls 15 miles ahead.
And no anticipation that this was going to be an issue.
No, didn't even think of it.
Huh.
And so we make it to the Niagara Falls area. We have rented a car, and I go, well, fear not. I mean, we always get an intermediate level or above car from Enterprise, so it always has a GPS. We'll be fine. We managed to locate the Enterprise rented car. I get out. I give him all my paperwork. Everything's great. I say it does have a GPS. He goes, oh, no, our cars don't have GPSs. You can have it externally for $7 a day. And he goes, but I don't think we have any. I go, oh, you better find one, dude. So he's digging and finds one that has that sandbag that sits on your dashboard and charges me $7 a day for this. Now, I have to make it still have to get myself and the RV to the campground. So we managed to get it to the campground and we get all set up. And most campgrounds here in the United States have free Wi-Fi, have cable, and, lots of things are included. Well, this one said Wi-Fi, so we assumed there was Wi-Fi. And when we get there, we discover that it's not free. It's $5 per device.
What?
And so...
I thought you were going to say per day. I'm like, all right, I can pay a $5 per day, but...
per device.
Oh my
so Mark needs 2 in order to continue to work. And I need 1 in order to continue to survive our lives, check the bank, do things like that. And then we get a 4th one for the kids, but you can't use one IP address, take it off and put a new one on. Once that IP address is clicked on to that, that's what's staying. So needless to say, that was not as charming as it could have been. The next day, it's the 4th of July, and we are going to go to Niagara Falls. And we are told that the Canadian side is much more beautiful.
It is.
And it really was quite spectacular.
I agree.
However, we have 2 really cool things planned for the day. The first one is Journey Behind the Falls, where they have cut out sections of the falls and you can feel the thunder of these billions of gallons of water coming over.
They give you a poncho for that.
They do. And then the second one is we're going to eat dinner in the Skyline Tower, which is a giant tower that dots the skyline there. So we get to the Journey Behind the Falls, and it is an hour and a half serpentine to go about 50 feet. You could see the door. And had we just walked in and gone in the elevators, it probably would have taken less than 2 minutes. an hour and a half with my autistic son.
You already had a reservation, though, right?
Oh, yeah, I have a ticket. I'm in line. This is my 4 o'clock time. We don't actually see it till 5:30.
Whoa.
And let me tell you what it is, folks.
It's not even exciting like at Disney World where you're waiting for a ride.
Right.
This
Oh,
is just
my
water.
gosh. Don't do this. It literally is like somebody has taken an archway cutout, and all you can see is a wall of water. You can't touch the water because there's fences and gates in front of it. So what I'm looking at is a tunnel with an archway cutout, and there's 2 of them. And I'm supposed to be impressed by that. You can't take any pictures because even with a flash, it's so dark down there that there's nothing comes out.
Yeah.
The third cutout, you could actually step outside, which is why they give you the poncho. You could actually step outside and kind of be next to the falls. There was a top level and a bottom level. The bottom level, you got completely soaked. And the top level, you got wet, but were able to do it. We managed to take like 5 seconds of pictures. Oliver wouldn't even come anywhere near it. The noise and was just more than he could handle after the hour and a half waiting.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was $100 of my life I'd like back in an hour and a half of time. Then we have to kind of kill time because we have made 9 o'clock dinner reservations because the fireworks are at 10, right? And we want to be in this beautiful Skyline Tower at 10 o'clock when these fireworks go off. And so we've decided to do their buffet, and they have posters all over the city with this gorgeous looking buffet of crab legs and prime rib and all this fantastic stuff. And when I called to make the reservations, I said, I have 2 small kids. It is our 4th of July. We would like to be facing the falls. And she says, well, everything faces the falls. Well, that's a true statement. It's like a half moon restaurant and everything does face the falls. But we were 6 or 7 tables away from the window. So you couldn't really see the falls.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this was because it's the 4th of July and we have not eaten. It's 9 o'clock at night. And as most of our listeners know, I'm in bed usually by 7. So this is way out of my comfort zone. And the buffet.
I'm lucky she's awake right now.
Yes, actually, I was just about to nap, and then I remembered I needed to come here. The buffet, of which we were sitting right next to, so we get to watch everyone go through this, is really not that attractive and not that exciting. The prime rib was okay. The crab legs were awful. And my understanding is that they have this beautiful light show on the falls. Well, not on the 4th of July. They're just red, white, and blue. And the fireworks go off, and you can't see them because you're too high above them. And so all of this, so we can see the fireworks, we can't see the fireworks. So at 10 o'clock.
Or can't?
We cannot.
Oh.
So at 10 o'clock, we finally figure out, because people are like rushing towards the window, that the fireworks are actually going on. I managed to kind of sneak Oliver up close to the windows because Oliver is so afraid of fireworks, we don't often get to see them because the noise is too bad. But inside this glass building, he's perfectly fine. So I get him close enough to see them. Now, again, this was the whole point of us doing this. I actually don't get to see them. But Lillian manages to kind of move her way closer to the wall, and some very nice woman said, this is not my Independence Day. Would you like to sit down? And so Lily got to sit down at the table that was at the window and actually look outside and watch them. Now, the good news was, and the redeeming quality is that it is the 4th of July, and I am looking at Niagara, New York, and so I can see 5 or 6 different cities putting on their fireworks display. So I did still get to see fireworks. I just didn't get to see the spectacular one. And all said and done, I paid $200 for dinner and didn't actually get to see the fireworks. So needless to say, I'm not super thrilled with Canada so far. Don't really feel we need to come back. And so now we're going to try to leave.
Can't wait.
So they had told me, the officers had told me on the way in that the way out was to leave the country, and then there was a little lane that says, oops, I made a mistake, here's the U-turn lane. And so we do. So we go out and we U-turn and we come back in, and there's a lane that says RVs and buses, and there are 2 commercial like Greyhound buses or tour buses that are in that lane. So we get in that lane, and someone, I don't know if it was an officer or just a bus driver, comes out and says, you can't be in this lane. It's for buses only. And I said, it says RVs and buses. And they're like, it's just buses. Okay,
well,
that's not what it says. So there's a kind of a cutout to go to the other side. And so Mark kind of parks there, and I grab my piece of paper that was my receipt and my passport, and I run into the door, and I say, I'm here to pick up my firearm, because the gentleman who had taken it had said to me, you come back to this building and get it. Okay. The guy says to me, get in your car. I was like, okay, but I'm trying to pick up my firearm. You need to get in your car and go back in that line. And I said, I'm just trying to pick up my firearm. Do you have a permit for the state of New York? No. Well, you're not going to be able to get your firearm. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get back in the RV, and now we're going to get in this long line of cars trying to get in to Canada. Don't do it, people. And we have to literally start all over. So we go through a booth, and the man goes, "Do you have any tobacco or alcohol?" I need to see.
No, you took it.
Right, that's exactly what I said. He goes, "Do you have any firearms?" Yes, it's here, and you have it. So he gives me this yellow piece of paper, and goes, "Go into the building." I go, "I tried to go into the building." He goes, "Well, now you can go in it." And I was just like, oh, golly, I'm not happy. So they tell us to pull really quite far forward.
These people have a superiority complex.
Well, because everyone who saw this on Facebook was like, well, didn't you know Canada has a no weapons policy? I said, yes, but it's in my home. In the United States, that's the Castle Doctrine covers me. It is my home, and I can have a weapon in it. So needless to say, we pull ahead. I get out. I'm now holding a yellow piece of paper, my receipt, and my passport. I walk in this door, and literally the Three Stooges are now going to find my gun. What? So I walk up. I hand the 3 pieces of paper to the gentleman behind the desk. He immediately puts the yellow piece of paper in a box, takes my passport, looks at me, and then takes my receipt. They go over to this logbook, and I don't know what crypt writer was writing on this, but I couldn't read any of it if you had to. And they cannot match the receipt in this logbook because the handwriting is so bad. And so then he comes back to me and goes, "Was it a redhead man that took your gun?" I go, 5 officers boarded it, and it was 4 or 5 days ago. I have no idea who took my gun.
Right.
There's a signature on it. You can't figure that out? So I'm told to sit down.
They do have computers for this stuff, Canada.
Yeah, no, this is all handwritten.
Yeah, even at baseball stadiums, they run the lotteries for the 50-50 off of a little computer that prints you up a receipt. There's no mistake.
Yeah. So I'm told to sit down. So I'm waiting, and literally, again, I'm watching the Three Stooges try to find this gun. So they can't find it. Another person comes to try to look. Now
how many
a third
guns were
person
there must be a lot.
Is trying to find it. And so finally he calls, "Come back up here." And I go, "Okay." And I come up, and he goes, "What's your license plate number?" I said, "I have no idea." And I'm about to turn around and go out. He goes, No. We'll send an officer. So now an officer's going to go out and get our thing. And now Mark's freaked out because an officer's coming out, but his wife with a gun is not. So they come back with my driver, with the RV's license plate number. Then they say to me, "Where's the yellow piece of paper?" I said, "I gave it to you when I walked in. You put it in that drawer." "Oh, yeah, okay." So he takes that, and then...
Good thing I'm paying attention.
Right! So then, this is what I find to be hilarious. They lock my gun in a lockbox.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have no visual on this at the moment. This could be anyone's weapon. Yeah. I don't know. It is not. It could be anyone's firearm. So an officer takes the suitcase that's locked and walks with me out to our RV. Now, we have outside storage, and he makes Mark unlock an outside storage and locks it in the outside storage and says, "An officer on the other side of the bridge will open it."
Oh, good luck.
So now we have to do the U-turn.
You have a lot of faith in these
accidentally came into Canada,
people.
And I'm going to make a U-turn. So now I'm U-turning again, heading back to the United States. I believe I may or may not be in possession of my firearm, but I have a firearm in the back of our RV.
Well, you have a lockbox. You don't know what's
in there, right?
Could be 50 grand.
Could be
cash.
A snake. I don't know. I could be a pack mule for something. I have no idea. So
he planted drugs.
We get to the other side, and we go in the lane that's marked RVs and buses.
Well, you made that mistake the first time.
I know, but guess what's in this lane? RVs and buses. Good. So we pull up, and the gentleman says, "Are you carrying a weapon from Canada?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "We've been expecting you." So he boards my vehicle and looks at the 4 passports, and then goes and looks in our bathroom, looks at all these things. And then this is what pisses me off. Looks at Mark and says, "Are you a law enforcement officer?" Like it's Mark's gun. Mark goes, "Not my gun." And I looked at the man. I said, "It is mine."
I can picture him doing this. I got nothing to do with
not
this.
My gun. This is all my wife. And so, so this officer then now has our 4 passports.
Yes.
and has us, and another officer comes out, and we unlock our trunk. He takes the lockbox and our passports and goes into detention. So this nice officer was like, pull forward and then go into door 2, which is detention. So we do all of this. The dog is now still in the RV, and we are going to walk into here. There's no really kind of any rhyme or reason in what you're doing. You just sit down until someone hollers your name. So we sat down, and somebody calls us and sends us into this back room. And we go, and the officer there was just like, here, can I see your passports? I said, you have our passports. And he said, oh, yes. And then he said, did you bring a firearm into Canada? And I said, yes, I did. I did not know. It's normally just in my RV. It lives there. We do a lot of trips and sleep in a lot of truck stops and, rest stops. So, the officer says to me, do you have any proof that you're authorized to carry a weapon? Okay. And I said, well, the state of Wisconsin does not license weapons. I do have a concealed carry for the state of Wisconsin, and I do have a concealed carry for the state of Florida. I need to see those. So I run out to the car, and I get both of those. The state of Florida has an enormous amount of reciprocal states, so it actually covers a bunch of states. However, it does not cover the state of New York.
Of course not.
So now, again, please keep in mind that my family is sitting in the chairs behind me, and I'm up the counter talking to this officer. I still do not know it's actually my gun. Okay? Finally, he brings it over. And they had, when they took the weapon, taken the bullets out of the clip and just left them on my bed. So I have a gun in an empty clip. And he says to me, you cannot take this gun into the state of New York if you do not have a permit for the state of New York. They're very strict about it. I said, I'm just driving through. I'm not staying in New York. And he says, well, if you get pulled over, they're going to put you in jail. And so I'm going to need to go talk to a superior about what we're supposed to do here because technically we're in the state of New York. So Lillian now thinks her mother is really going to jail and is about to have a full-on meltdown behind us. Oliver is starting to get a little freaked out because this officer is like, well, we can put you in jail, but we need to go talk about this. So he goes and talks to another officer, and you all don't have a visual of what I look like, but I am a 5'2", 50-year-old overweight blonde. Okay, do you really think I'm coming on some sort of rampage at the Walmart? Because I'm not.
Right.
Okay, I'm not doing anything naughty. I have kids, and my RV doesn't go that fast.
The worst thing she does is use her mom voice.
That's right. I might yell at you. So
you work for her, this woman, and you will be afraid.
That's
right.
Go
ahead.
Anyway,
I was.
So
still am.
I still am waiting, and so now. The funny thing is I hear another officer say, hey, Canada called. They need lock boxes. Like, so many of the guns have come over. We need you people to bring the boxes back. And so some guy takes a pile of them and gets in his car and drives over to the other side and drop off boxes. So now he says to me, okay, this is what we've decided. We will lock your weapon in your trunk again until you get out of New York. So now it is put into my box that I own the key for, but still locked in my trunk. Of course, what makes you think I can't stop 5 minutes later and put it inside? I'm not gonna, because at this point, I just do not want to go to jail.
You don't want to go to jail, yeah.
I just want to get out of New York. So needless to say, friends, if you're planning on visiting Canada, don't take your firearm. Bad idea.
Well, get a permit first.
Well, that's just it, though. It's really difficult to keep track of who, like the state of Minnesota has its own. And so I have the paperwork done for Minnesota, but you have to physically stop an officer to get it. So what am I supposed to do? Flag you down? And then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, then you got to take me to it's weird. It's weird how Minnesota wants you to do it. So I never technically got Minnesota's either because Florida covers so many of them that was much a nicer one. The thing that I do find quite scary is that the state of Wisconsin, of which we are in, just makes you go to a class. There's no range required, and they hand you a permit.
Right.
The state of Florida requires a range certificate. It requires an FBI fingerprint. It requires a mugshot. It requires an enormous amount more work to get a Florida one, which, again, covers a large number of reciprocal states. So next year, our plan was to go through New York up to Acadia into Boston and do all of those American things on the East Coast after my daughter does U.S. history this school year, we will be leaving that weapon at home. So
You don't want to broadcast that.
yeah, well, you got to find
She
me
will
first.
go to New York and get a permit and then fly back home. And
We'll see. I might get a permit in New York just to piss them off. And because I'm sure that my license plate is on some list somewhere. But after that, we did make it to Michigan. And the funny thing was, as we make this quest to do the 60 national parks, in the one in Ohio, they're like, well, now there's another one. It's the sand dunes. And I was like, oh, for heaven's sakes.
Indiana, right?
Well, yes, but that's not what he tells us. What he tells us is it's the sand dunes in Michigan, the Sleeping Bear Dunes. And so we're heading to Michigan anyway, so we decided to do the Sleeping Bear Dunes.
Can I ask you a question, though? This whole Canada thing, it took 24 minutes for you to tell us the story. How long did this whole ordeal take to get your gun back?
About an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
Yeah. It
Wow.
was a long, long time.
Okay, so you go to Bear Poop
So we go
Park.
to Sleeping Bear Dunes, and it was fantastic. We were able to kayak with our blow-up kayaks that we take with us. We did a couple of state parks. We went up to Mackinac Island, which,
Been there?
if you don't know, it is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It does not allow cars on the island. It is a very nice, it's full of horses, though, place. We did that, and then we did a couple of more state parks in Michigan, and then came home. So all in all, the second half of the trip was quite spectacular. We had a lot of fun camping and a lot of fun like that. But it took me a little while to recover from Canada. And I don't feel a need to go back.
Yeah. The crossing the border, it just seems more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what was your second vacation?
We went to San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
So the girls were super excited about that trip.
I noticed you didn't bring me any seafood back.
There is no seafood there.
Oh, yes, there are.
Not in my trip. There wasn't.
Soft shell crabs are in they have a lot of crabs.
Oh,
and
well, we didn't have any
Anyway.
seafood. But
Okay.
anyway, so the kids were excited to do that. Speaking of national park, I'm not an outdoor person. In fact, if I have to go to a new city, I want to be in the city. Kathy, my wife, is the one who's brings me on all these adventures. We went to Seattle. Tons of stuff to do in Seattle, but nope. We go to see Mount Rainier. Crap. But once the experience is done, I'm glad I did it.
That's right.
So I'm like, well, we got to get this nature crap over with. So we booked that at the beginning of the trip. So the first day, we went whitewater rafting with the girls. They're 7, mind you. So we were a little nervous about them falling overboard or hitting their head on a rock, or all these things were going through our heads. Like, what is this going to be like?
Why would you take them on this then?
Well, Kathy really wanted to do it
Okay.
because she loves this kind of stuff. And
Okay.
I love her, and I want to make sure that she has a good vacation too. So they put me, basically our boat was the 2 girls, Kathy, the guide, and me and this other guy from, well, I guess he's from California now, but he was very foreign. I think he was from Germany or something, and had a very thick accent. Well, so they put me and this other guy up in front because we're the guys, and we have
And you're
to
going to break the
do
water.
all the paddling basically. And I paid $150 a person for me to get screamed at by the guy in the back of the boat. Right forward. I said right forward. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on vacation. I just got here yesterday. I didn't sign up for this. If you don't steer right and we get through a level 4 rapid, things could happen. I'm like, oh crap.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So you threatened me with the safety of my family.
So
I guess
why
I better
wasn't
listen
Kathy
better.
in the front then?
I thought she should have been because she's probably stronger than I am.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but oh my gosh, I can totally picture it.
I was not happy. I just stopped talking. I shut down. I'm like, fine, right forward, fine. So mad. And so the girls got out at certain times and would be able to swim and that kind of thing. They never fell out of the boat once, but the big level 4 rapid, I don't know, I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
He's like, girls, you're just going to sit down for this one. And we're coming up to it, and it's like massive water rushing through these rocks. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to turn around now, please. I didn't want to go through it. And he goes, all right, when I say get down, everybody get down. So it was fine. And it was actually fun going through the rapid. And then when he yelled get down and we could just ride it,
Yeah.
that was kind of fun. But So that was the first day.
Okay.
The next day, we spent some time at Yosemite. We had done gold panning the day before, I believe. After the rafting thing, we went gold panning for gold, which was a big gimmick.
We've done that.
That steals your money and gives you nothing.
Yeah, like pieces of sand that are
those
gold.
troughs are not.
Yeah.
And we paid for we were the dummies that paid for the guaranteed gold.
Oh, yeah, no.
We think Madison dumped it out by accident. So I don't think there's any gold in her little bottle, but whatever. So we did that. That was fun. Went into Yosemite Park, and bless my wife, but these hikes are out of control. We went on a almost 1 mile hike straight up a hill. Like, we literally had to take about 8 to 14 breaks along the way of this trail. And everybody's like, can we turn back? Can we turn back? I was like, we're almost there. We're almost there. I'm like, oh, God, I just want to
What
be
is
done.
she trying
This
to
sucks.
see?
Atop of a waterfall. In which you only saw the one mountainous portion because you had to hike another 7 miles to get to the top.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, it was actually harder going back down that hill than it was going up the hill, because then your foot and toes pushed into the front of your shoe. And Kathy's like, I can tie your shoe tighter. I'm like, I don't need my shoe tied tighter. I need to not be on this walk. Seriously. So we were done with the hikes. That was enough.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, so we did stay for our first time at a bed and breakfast.
Oh.
I was very nervous about that because when we check in, you're checking into somebody's house.
Yeah.
And it's not like a Victorian house. Like, this was a ranch house. I'm like, what is this going to be like? Lady was super nice. I mean, I highly recommend this place. And she brought us into our room through a little side screen door, which had its own key and lock. So we could lock them out of the room, theoretically, because I'm sure they had a key.
Mm-hmm.
But, we could lock ourselves out and go as we please without going through the main house. So very nice experience in a bed and breakfast. I don't know if I'd want to do another one again, but that was something, to experience. Have you done a bed and breakfast yet before?
Mark and I had one before we had children.
Mm.
I don't, and obviously
It
not.
wasn't weird? I mean, I feel like...
No, it wasn't. I mean, but I'm a big believer in bed and breakfasts, but most of the time they're like fully established. And so it's
This
not
was
like,
fully established.
Because now there's all that Airbnb and all the rent my homes and all that sort of stuff. I don't trust. I'm not super excited about that.
This was a legit thing on hotels.com that we booked.
No, but now that we have the RV, we very rarely stay in hotels or bed and breakfast or anything like that.
Yeah, but like that was our breakfast setup. She had china plates and cloth napkins and saucers for your coffee cup. I mean, it was very nice.
How delightful.
And the food was wonderful. So
nice.
If you want to go to Yosemite and stay at a good bed and breakfast, drop us an email at hello@fancounters.com and I will tell you where we stayed, and you should stay there too. Finally, when the hellish time in the park was over, we went to San Jose to see the Winchester Mystery House.
Okay.
Do you know anything about this?
I know of it.
Okay, so briefly, Sarah Winchester was the heir to the Winchester gun fortune. Her husband died. She was afraid that spirits were chasing her and telling her to move out west. So she did. And she moved into this house in which she was lonely. So in order to keep people around the house, she just kept building onto the house. So for 50 years or whatever, this house has been under construction. There's 160 rooms. So we got to tour. We took 2 tours, 2.5 hours total, of all 160 rooms in the house. And it was quite fascinating. There was a room where she and Harry Houdini had done a seance because she was very big into the spirit world and stuff. So
why do I feel like there was a movie about this?
There was. It was called Winchester, and it came out a couple
recently,
of years ago.
Yeah, somewhere on the time we've talked about it. Yeah,
yeah. They did film a little bit outside of the house, but most of it was done in Hollywood, and the story was quite fabricated.
What did the girls think
of the house?
Yeah,
fascinated.
Really,
they stayed interested the whole entire time.
That's a lot for 7-year-olds.
I know, and I thought after the first tour, they're like, "Oh, we got to do another one," because I did the Explore More tour.
Okay.
What was really funny about that is we were towards the top of the house, and there was a little makeshift ladder on the roof. And somebody's like, "Where does that ladder go?" She goes, "Oh, that's the Explore Even More tour."
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, "Wait a minute! I thought I booked everything." And the tour guide looks at me and she goes, "You did. That was a joke." I'm like, "I would have booked that." But there's literally staircases to nowhere, like
Okay.
just to the roof, like to the rafters,
Okay.
for no reason. So that was tons of fun. Did that. We visited the Alamo Park in San Francisco. You know where that's famous for? The picnic scene in the opening credits of Full House, which overlooks the Painted Lady houses. So we took pictures there. We visited the Full House house and did that. And it's nice that Jeff Franklin owns the house now, who created Full House, because the gate is open and you can sit on the steps of the house and take pictures. So that was quite nice.
Did you do the bridge or?
Okay, so we did take pictures by the Golden Gate Bridge, but not on a day in which it was clear, of course.
Oh.
Like there was one day that was clear and good for pictures, but on that day we went to Alcatraz.
I was just about to say, did you do Alcatraz?
We did, finally, yeah. And what's funny about that is you really have to book Alcatraz ahead of time. We were there on August the 1st, I think, and it said, next tour available August 22nd.
Yikes.
So you really do have to book those ahead of time. What was cool about that is there was a former inmate there signing autographs.
You didn't go to Fisherman's Wharf?
No, we did. We did do all that. We walked the piers and all that stuff.
Okay.
Is there anything specific at Fisherman's Wharf I was supposed to see?
Yeah, seafood restaurants. Hence, Fisherman's
Yeah.
Wharf.
Okay. Well, we didn't do any of that, but like we saw the sea lions,
Uh-huh.
so that was cool.
Okay.
We did Lombard Street. We went to the Oakland A's game, which completed my tour of the Major League ballparks.
Oh,
I have
congratulations.
now seen all 30 current parks and several past torn down parks. Now, let me tell you the story. That day that we went to the A's Brewer game, a guy by the name of Trent Grisham was playing for the Brewers, making his Major League debut. He arrived at the ballpark 2 hours before the game started and started in center field that day. Well, I always book Brewer games, away games, very close to the field. So we were right kind of in front of the bullpen, between first base and the bullpen. And after the game, we were hanging out because we were talking with people in the stands and just we were having a good time while the game was ending. And then Trent came over and his family ended up sitting like 2 rows from us.
Oh.
So we kind of watched this encounter happen and we had come down and I'm like, quick, because Maddie got a ball from somebody in the bullpen on the way back to the dugout. So I'm like, Madison, you got to get him to sign this ball. And so we waited patiently, and he wasn't really paying attention to us. He was more into his mom and fiance and all that, which is
I just made my
totally
Major League
understandable.
debut, dude.
Right. I'm not here for you. But I just said, hey, Trent, can you sign this for my daughter? And he looks over and he goes, yeah, let me do this first. I'm like, sweet. So we're just hanging out. And he signs the ball and takes a picture with them.
Aww.
So I hope Trent Grisham becomes the next Hall of Fame player because I'm sure on that day he only signed 2 baseballs. One for his nephew, which I saw, and one for my kid.
Oh,
because
cute.
having arrived that close to game time, there's no way
Yeah.
pre-game jitters would allow you to go interact with the crowd, you know? So if he becomes a big deal, I have proof we have the ball from his first game.
Now, did you do the crookedest road?
Yeah, that's Lombard
Is
Street.
that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah.
We drove down it, and then we took pictures right in front of it.
Okay.
So, yeah, then we did the bridge pictures, of course. Then it was our time to go to Napa, Sonoma.
Oh, yeah.
I was told by somebody, if you drink 5 glasses of wine, they'll start enrolling you in wine clubs. We are members of 2 of them. Yeah. So we did join 2 wine clubs while we were there. We did spend the day at Francis Ford Coppola's winery,
Yep.
which he's got a swimming pool there.
Oh.
So we just swam for the whole day. It was awesome. It was probably
So
my
they just bring
favorite.
you wine while the kids swim?
Absolutely.
Oh,
They had
fantastic.
service right by the pool until you got your bill at the end of the day.
Yikes.
But that was the best day for me because we had been running and doing so many activities every single day, and this was one day we just sat at the pool. And I'm
See,
like,
it's a good thing
Kathy-
you're married to a rocket scientist.
but we have a hard time doing that because we're constantly on the go.
Well, both of your brains don't shut down, hence
Right.
the new job when you already have 3 of them. But we'll talk about it again off air.
We will. And then we did the redwoods and all that. So
Oh, yeah. The
completely
redwoods
fun
are
time.
quite spectacular.
They are. For it to be 300 feet tall and 1,400 years old or whatever
Yeah.
these trees were.
You were at
is
Muir
amazing.
Woods, though, right? Not
We did not go to Muir Woods because they've commercialized it.
Okay.
It is now, you have to pay for your car to get in and a per person charge.
Oh, shucks.
So to go to Muir Woods for a family of 4 would have been like $89. I'm like, no, not to see trees.
And it's
For
not
10
in the
minutes.
national park system?
It is, but they charge admission. I mean, that's the admission they charge at that park. Like in Yosemite, we paid $35 for a 7-day pass, but Muir Woods charges a per-day fee.
Yeah, but if you'd
And per
gotten like
person.
an actual national park pass,
Oh, I don't know about that.
that would have been
Maybe.
$90 and covered all of it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have looked into that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
Now you know to get your national park passes.
I did on this vacation several times, and I think people with young kids can agree. The behavior of the kids at some point were so bad, and I feel like a horrible parent, but I felt like, thinking in my head, you were ruining this vacation, kid. And I thought, I don't want to do this again next year. I think
know.
skip your vacations, because I can't listen to the fighting and the arguing and the, like, I keep saying, when is this like going to be better to
It's
where
not.
they appreciate things?
Never.
And I'm like, maybe when they're 30, they'll
Maybe.
appreciate
Yeah.
things.
You know, we have dragged the children to over 30 of the 60
And I feel
national
very
parks.
bad for them, because I've been to like 2 and I've had it.
Well, but I'll tell you this. We require that the children do their junior
Yeah, the
ranger
junior
badges.
ranger.
And the reason we do it isn't because we think they need to learn about that particular one, because after a while they all start to blend together. But we want them to have proof that they were there. Now, of course, we take a picture at every national park sign, and someday I'll put a book together that says, hey, you were at all these places. But I have heard from numerous people who have said that their parents dragged them, not to the extent that we do, but drag them out to the Grand Canyon, or drag them out to Yellowstone, or drag them out to
Yosemite.
someplace. And that they remember going, and they remember being grumbling about it at the time, but are now so glad that their parents did it.
Well, and that's how I feel afterwards. I'm glad Kathy drugged me through this, because Yosemite was pretty. But you know what? I can only look at so many waterfalls, cliffs, and trees.
Yeah, so for me, it's rocks, trees, and dirt. And
Right.
I don't care for evergreens. And so when we go into large evergreen forests, I'm like, oh, for the love of Pete, when will this end?
I can see this in my backyard.
Well, and that's why the Great Smoky Mountains, which is mostly deciduous trees, is my favorite, because we have been there when it is spring, and you watch just in a week's time this miraculous expansion going from twigs to bright green, and then the billions of
you
flowers
really have to appreciate nature, though.
that come.
And I
Yeah.
don't think I have that.
Well, and we're going to go this fall, because we've seen it in spring and summer, but we've never seen it in fall. And I just think that millions of acres of trees that all change. We're going to need to pack a lot of allergy medication. The spring nearly killed the entire family.
Oh, man.
But, I get it. Every year the kids grumble, although I did hear Oliver grumbling the other day that he was bored, and that he was gypped because we only went on a 2-week trip instead of a 4-week trip.
Really?
I was like, well, get outside and do something.
Yeah.
No, I'm good right
Get
here.
off your tablet, dude.
Nope. I'm good right
Look
here,
up and
Mom.
see something. Yeah, not to mention I was coaching my daughter's softball team, too.
Yes.
So I had that going on, too.
Yes,
Lots
I
of
know.
crazy stuff.
So it was such a good idea to get another job.
You're not liking this that I did that, huh?
Not at all.
Well, we do have to figure out what's going on with this podcast, because, it was 4 weeks that we didn't get a show out. And it's really funny that a lot of people reached out to us to say, hey, where are you at? And all this stuff. But you know who didn't reach out to us?
My brother, Peter.
No. Anybody associated with the Podfix network.
Oh.
Like, nobody noticed we're not here. Like, we're not tweeting. We're not retweeting their crap. We're not doing any of that.
Huh.
And I'm like, I think that that's really weird. And I've thought a lot about this 100th episode that we are coming up on, because I wanted to do a live show. And there's not a lot of celebrities in Wisconsin. So the one celebrity that I think would be a fascinating interview, I haven't had real time to follow up with this person to see if we can get a live show together. So it's probably not going to happen for episode number 100 unless we go many weeks without having a show again. But I've thought of a lot of changes for the show. I've gone back and forth about this Podfix network that we're on, thinking about the fact that, let's be real about it, it's a retweet network.
Okay.
They're just basically asking us to tweet for them, and they tweet for us and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm sure a lot of you listeners have come from these other shows, but as far as a network goes, it's not what I thought we were doing when we started.
Okay.
So I think we're going to officially announce right here and now that we're going to go network free and kind of see where the show takes us. So I have some ideas that I want to run past Elizabeth about changes that I want to make to the show. I don't want it to end just because, I'm busy and that kind of thing. And that was something that, I thought we should talk about, and why not bring the listeners in on it? I think it just needs to evolve a little bit, because it seems that a lot of the podcasts people are listening to are this type of format where people are just talking about their life. And I don't know why that's popular, because I'm a nobody. And sorry, Elizabeth, you're a nobody.
Oh, how rude.
And I think also the long form interview is harder to get. If we got a guest for 20 or 30 minutes, it's going to be a lot easier for me to book talent than it has been for me to say, yeah, we need you for 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
And so if we drill down and just get the nitty gritty questions to these people that we want to interview, I think we'd have a lot easier time getting guests to commit to coming on the show.
Well, and we don't always need to know what they're streaming.
Exactly. Yep. No, we don't have to know that. We don't have to know, go way back in their career and that kind of thing. So, we'll see how the show evolves. People have said that once a show drops off and they maybe come back, that, we're lost cause and we're not going to do this anymore. But I don't think that that's what we're doing with Fancounters. I don't know what you think about this. But.
Oh, I show up. I'm the 5%. You're the 95%. You get to decide what direction we go in. And as most of you know, Nick and I are such great friends that we just really like hanging out with the celebrities. We like doing the interviews. But again, I don't have to do all the work. Nick puts in hours and hours and hours of all of this wonderful things. And I do have to say, one of the things that I love about our podcast is guest after guest after guest comment on how well the vetting process or the background check stuff was, and that he does a remarkable job of doing that. But it's also incredibly time consuming to do.
It is.
So, as you know, and I told you,
but it'll be more doable with a 20-minute guest that I drill down on the things we really want to know.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have some changes. If you have suggestions, we're always open to hearing those. You can email us at hello@fancounters.com. A lot of people already have. And I want to thank everybody for listening to the back catalog over the last month, because when I look at how many people are listening, I was like, wow, either word is just still getting out about the show, because people are still listening to like episode 1.
Oh, cool.
2 years ago.
Well, welcome to all of you new people. Thanks for coming.
I'm sure, since we've been gone, you have been catching up on things you've missed. So.
Yeah. Outstanding.
And we will have Love After Lockup updates coming, because the final episode of the new season airs tonight.
Wow.
On WeTV. So tune into Love After Lockup. I can already tell you, I'll break it all off. Michael said he'll come back. Lizzie said she'll come back. And Lizzie's ex-fiance, Scott, has been waiting to come on the show. I've been speaking with him since May. And
is that the one that gave her all the money?
Yes.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yes.
I'm dying
so
to
Scott
talk to
is
him.
going to be here. We just have to wait for this last show to air so that he can talk about everything. And that was the problem. He didn't want to come on when he couldn't tell the truth about everything that had happened. So super excited to have him on. And there's a lot of guests I have up my sleeve that we've been trying to schedule, and my schedule's been impossible, so they haven't happened. But lots of good things still to come on Fancounters. So don't give up. Keep helping us promote the episodes. That's what we need the most, is if you share it with your friends, tell them to listen. Put a sign up at work. Celebrity podcast. Whatever it takes, right?
That's right.
So I think we're going to officially rebrand the name of the podcast to the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast or something like that. So you might look for a very minor name change coming up instead of just Fancounters, because I want to make sure that it goes a little deeper. And that's pretty much what I got for you this week.
Awesome.
It was good to catch up with you.
It was.
And
we
hopefully
still have another month of summer, and I still have Irish Fest held
we do
to
not
look
have a
forward
month
to.
of summer. There is 2 weeks left of summer.
Yeah.
The kids are back in school in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I suppose. But shh, I still have to make it through Irish Fest here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to see Rick Springfield tonight. Jesse's Girl. You know that one?
I know who he is.
Okay. So I'm going to see him tonight. He's at the Wisconsin State Fair. And Sarah McLachlan I'm going to see too coming up.
Nice.
So I got some shows. and still doing the concerts. I still love seeing a live performance.
Yep.
And we will be back with you next week with the road band for the group Alabama, and that'll be here on the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast.
Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.